British Empire, by the turn of the 20th century, was in its heyday. And British interests, as every school child knew then, had taken the English language all around the globe.
The spread of the language was inseparable from the growing feeling of superiority which marked the empire and its people.
When Daniel Defoe's shipwrecked Robinson Crusoe encountered the man he called Friday, the first English word he taught his new acquaintance was master. There was no question about who was in charge, and no question about the language they'd use. As the empire spread, Crusoe's attitude became the norm.
Around the world, English pushed hundreds of local languages aside. In some cases, it could be said to have killed them off. Less than half the Aboriginal languages survived, and they now face extinction. North American languages also suffered, among them Lakota, the language of Sitting Bull, and the Sioux people.
Did you speak Lakota to your grandfather?
You have to. Otherwise, he wouldn't understand me if I start speaking English.
Did you enjoy learning English?
We have to learn the English. And if we speak Indian to each other, then both of us have to go up to the teacher's desk, and she makes us stand in front of her. She gets this big ruler, about this long and this thick, and she slaps our hand, hits us till it's all red. Yeah. And they won't let us speak our language because I think they were trying to change us into white men. Julie Sitting Bull, wounded horse.
I spoke to Dolores Blacksmith in Chicago, but you don't have to go that far around the world to find examples of English bullying, no further than Wales.
The military, political and social dominance of the English over the Welsh has always been reflected in their languages. When the two countries were united in 1536, there was no law actually to prohibit the speaking of Welsh, but no one who insisted on using Welsh was allowed to hold an official position. A prejudice against the Welsh had been established. It continued. By 1847, a Royal Commission declared that the Welsh language is a vast drawback to Wales and a manifold barrier to the moral progress and commercial prosperity of the people. And the Education Act of 1870 dictated that children would have to learn English. In schoolrooms like this, it could lead to unfortunate, even cruel practices. Welsh wasn't banned, but some teachers and schools outlawed it in the classroom. In some cases, a token like this, the letters WN stand for Welsh Not, was placed around the neck of any child slipping back into their first language. The child was encouraged to inform on child, or Welsh on them. That's where the term came from. And humiliation was used as a cultural weapon.
Mae'n anodd I ddewis rhwng y ddoi. Gael Cwynel nhw twr. Awr falle. I'n gweld yn eitha wyniad.
In the last years of the 19th century, there was a push to revive the Welsh language. It was led by the future Prime Minister of Britain, Lloyd George. The National Eisteddfod continued to promote and celebrate Welsh language and culture. Bilingual signage and official literature were introduced in the 60s, so that today the Welsh language can be seen everywhere throughout Wales. But it's debatable whether all this has really been enough to turn the tide. In 1900, half the people in Wales spoke Welsh. By 1981, it was less than 1 in 5. The story seemed to be one of a long and irreversible decline, while English marched on from strength to strength. Just this year, though, surveys have shown that the number of Welsh speakers is increasing for the first time in 2 centuries. Welsh has found its way back into the schoolrooms, but it's still a minority language. 80% of Welsh people don't speak it at all, and its future is far from certain.